A couple of years ago, something occurred that continues to send shivers down my spine even now. The day began uneventfully, much like any other. I clocked out of work at 4 p.m, the afternoon sun casting long shadows on the pavement as I walked home. After a quick change of clothes, I headed out to meet some friends, laughing and chatting over dinner until about 10 p.m. The streets were quiet by the time I returned, their stillness broken only by the rustle of leaves in the cool night breeze. My brother, who worked the graveyard shift as a bartender at a pub just a few blocks away, had already left hours earlier, leaving the house bathed in an unsettling silence. It was just me, the soft hum of the refrigerator, and my PlayStation, the controller cool and familiar in my hands. Knowing I had an early start looming the next day, I decided to tackle the essentials. I meticulously prepared my lunch, the rhythmic chopping of vegetables the only sound breaking the stillness. With everything packed and ready, I sank into the couch for a brief escape, the virtual world of FIFA offering a fleeting reprieve from the monotony of the day. My exhaustion was palpable, each button press slower than the last, and soon it overwhelmed me. The moment my head touched the pillow, I slipped into a deep, dreamless sleep, unaware of the events about to unfold. Hours later, I was startled awake, my heart racing as though jolted by an unseen force. The red glow of the digital clock read 2:30 a.m, a time that always unnerves me. There's something profoundly unsettling about being conscious at that hour, the darkness seeming thicker, the silence oppressive. I lay there for a moment, willing my breathing to steady and my pulse to slow. I told myself to relax, to close my eyes and let sleep take me again. But then, a sound pierced the stillness, the faint, unmistakable creak of the front door opening. A chill ran down my spine, every nerve ending on high alert. My first thought was of my brother. Maybe he had returned unexpectedly. But doubt quickly crept in. He wasn't due to finish his shift until 7 a.m. What could have brought him back at this hour? Perhaps he'd forgotten something important. I tried to dismiss the unease building in my chest, convincing myself it was nothing out of the ordinary. Pulling the blanket tighter around me, I let exhaustion overpower my lingering anxiety, drifting back to sleep despite the nagging sense of unease. When morning came, the incident lingered in my mind like a half-remembered dream, but practicality took over. As I moved to retrieve my carefully packed lunch from the fridge, I froze. The space where I'd placed it was empty, save for a stray jar of mustard. A wave of irritation swept through me. My brother must have taken it, I thought, annoyed but resigned. There was no time to prepare another meal, so I grudgingly planned to grab fast food during my break. The rest of the day passed uneventfully until I returned home that evening. Determined to confront my brother about the missing lunch, I discovered he was gone again, his absence casting a strange shadow over the house. To distract myself, I spent an hour cleaning the kitchen, the monotonous activity oddly soothing. After prepping a new lunch and ensuring it was securely placed in the fridge, I allowed myself to relax. A short nap turned into a deeper sleep, and when I awoke around 8 p.m, I noticed that my brother had briefly returned and left for another shift. The house felt emptier than ever. Hunger drove me to warm up some leftovers, the microwave's hum the only sound in the quiet kitchen. I retreated to my room, intending to unwind with a movie, but as the plot unfolded, my eyelids grew heavy. Once again, I succumbed to sleep, unaware of the lurking tension that was slowly creeping into my seemingly mundane existence. But then it happened again. A moment that would cement itself into the recesses of my memory forever. The night was at its deepest, an almost oppressive stillness filling the air. Just before 3 a.m, I was abruptly pulled from my sleep by an unmistakable sound, the soft click of the front door closing. For a moment, disoriented and groggy, I lay there, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Perhaps my brother had returned early again. Annoyed but too tired to investigate, I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. My fingers moved quickly over the screen as I sent him a text, a reminder not to touch my food this time. His reply came almost immediately, a single questioning character. He insisted he hadn't come home, claiming he didn't know what I was talking about. Frustration mixed with unease as I swung my legs over the edge of the bed. Maybe he was lying, or maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. Still half asleep, I trudged toward the living room, determined to confront him if he was there. But as I crossed the threshold, the air seemed to thicken, an inexplicable heaviness pressing down on me. And then I saw him. The breath caught in my throat, my body frozen as though rooted to the floor. There, slouched in one of our old chairs, was a man I had never seen before. His appearance was unsettling. A tangled, unkempt beard framed his gaunt face, and his eyes, those hollow, vacant eyes, seemed to pierce right through me. My stomach twisted as I noticed the pile of food in front of him, carelessly pulled from our fridge and pantry, as if he owned the place. My heart began to race, each beat thundering in my ears, drowning out the silence of the room. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, his head turned, and our eyes locked. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Then he stood up. The movement was slow, deliberate, and that's when I saw it. In his hand, catching the faint moonlight streaming through the window, was a gun. A cold sweat broke out over me as the reality of the situation crashed down like a wave. This wasn't a dream. This was real. He raised the weapon, his expression as blank and chilling as before, and pointed it directly at me. Time seemed to stop. The world narrowed to just him and me. Adrenaline surged through my veins, pushing my body into motion before my mind could catch up. I dove to the side, the motion clumsy but enough to save my life. The deafening crack of the gunshot shattered the silence, the bullet embedding itself into the wall where I had just stood. Panic overtook me as I scrambled on all fours toward the door. My hands fumbled with the lock, but by some miracle it opened. I burst out into the night, the cool air hitting my face as I ran, screaming for help at the top of my lungs. I dared to glance back and saw him standing in the doorway. The gun was still in his hand, glinting ominously under the faint streetlights. He raised it again, and for a heart-stopping moment, I thought this was it. Desperation fueled my legs as I zigzagged down the street, hoping the erratic pattern would make me harder to hit. 4 more shots rang out, each one echoing like a death knell. Somehow, none of them found their mark. I didn't stop running until I saw the flashing lights of a police car rounding the corner. Relief washed over me like a flood as I flagged them down, my words spilling out in a frantic, breathless rush. The officers wasted no time and headed straight to the house. To my astonishment, the man was still there, standing in the doorway as if waiting. He offered no resistance, his eerie calmness sending shivers down my spine. Even as they cuffed him, his eyes remained locked onto mine, unblinking and soulless. It was as though he was trying to etch himself into my memory forever. In the days that followed, we learned the horrifying truth. The man had gained access to our home using a key neither my brother nor I had given him. How he got it remains a mystery, but the thought of him lurking in the shadows, entering at will, sent chills down my spine. We changed the locks, installed cameras, and did everything we could to reclaim our sense of safety. Yet no matter how many precautions we took, the damage was done. The sanctity of our home, once a refuge, was now a place of unease. Even now, years later, I can't shake the memory of his empty stare. Every creak of the floorboards, every unexpected noise in the night, sets my nerves on edge. The knowledge that safety is often an illusion has left a permanent scar. Though he sits behind bars, his presence lingers in my mind, a constant reminder of the night my world turned upside down.